Cool, let's get started. All right, I know there's people still coming in the weight room, so we'll let them in as we keep going through, but let me go and share my screen. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to use the chat. One of us will be looking at the chat at some point, so we have some time at the end as well for Q&A, but if you have questions in the meantime, you just want to jot it down, feel free to send it via chat. Can we all see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Sunny.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Let's get started. Yeah, a quick introduction, and then we'll go into a variety of things. But like Ramonko mentioned, my name's Anirudh. Graduate from UCSD a few years ago now, focused computer science. I'm primarily now I work in kind of the AI and healthcare space at startups in the Bay Area. But I've been doing college applications, guidance, and essays for many years now, and really just focused on how do you craft a proper story so that admissions officers understand who you are as a student rather than making sure you just kind of hit this checklist. And that's kind of been my focus over the years. I'm so super excited to do this. I see a lot of people, so I've been involved with TASC, and it's a great initiative. Do you want to go?
Like Ramonko said, I am Anirudh's younger sister. My name is Sindhu. I graduated UC San Diego with my engineering degree in aerospace engineering. I recently graduated. I'm a class of 2025. So, yeah, I've been through the college system again, like my brother and everything. I was also a Regent Scholar, and I accepted into three or four different colleges, but I ended up going to UC San Diego, and I hope to help you all today.
Cool. All right, let's get started with general essay tips, and then we can go into UCs and Common App. Again, any questions in the meantime, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll keep looking at that chat here.
Yeah, all right, so awesome. Let me start again with some general essay tips. These are going to be just for all your essays, so both Common App as well as your UC essays. So the first and most important thing is going to be to understand your prompt. So the thing is, admissions officers only have, I would say, 30 to 60 seconds. They don't have the time to read your entire essay because they have hundreds of thousands of other essays to read. So you have 30 to 60 seconds to show the admissions officers who you are and build that narrative. So with that being said, the first and most important thing that a lot of people is that they don't understand the entire prompt. The prompt is what is it asking, as well as some of the sub layers in that prompt. We'll be going over exactly how to break down a prompt, but it's very important to understand that there's not just one question that they're asking. There's different layers to it, and we need to be talking about each and every layer and make sure you hit upon all those different points. Now, once you actually understood the prompt, the next thing you're going to do is actually build that narrative around yourself. The narrative, what we mean when we say narrative is just build a good story that's around you, about your accomplishments, what you've done. You want to build that story around you. Now, narrative is going to be broken into 5 different parts. The first one's going to be your hook, something to just grab that admissions officer. Again, you only have 30 to 60 seconds, so you want to make sure that they are interested from the very beginning. And then you can go into your intro. When we say intro, what we really mean is context. Admissions officers don't have the exact context on everything that you're going to be doing, so you need to give them a little bit of an introduction as to what it is that you're trying to talk about. We don't want to go overboard with that, though. So the general rule that we say is 80-20. 80% of your essay should be about you and your narrative that's built around you, and 20% of your essay should be focused on context. Again, the admissions officers don't need to know exactly what the organization is about, or they don't need to know exactly how the team dynamics are. They need to know just the important ideas that will explain why you're doing what you're doing. Once you've got your intro, what we call is evidence. But what really means is so the idea is what did you actually do? What is it the extracurricular that you were in? Is it a sport maybe? We're trying to prove to the admission officer that you are who you say you are. Right? Because again, the idea of an essay is to build a narrative around you. So they need to know that not only are you saying I'm a good leader, you're showing how you're a good leader. And this is we're gonna talk a little bit about brag sheets, and this is where a brag sheet will really come into use here. And once you have your evidence and you explained what you've done, really what they want to know is why have you done what you've done, right? Why did you join that certain organization? Why did you want to participate in that club? You can't just do things because you think it would be good for an officer, for an admissions officer. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. So they want to see that passion come through in your essay. So that's why you answer, why did you do what you do? Why was it important to you as a student, or to you as a leader, or to you as a person, as a member of your community? Why did you do what you had to do? And then obviously the very important question is, what have you learned? We don't do things just for the sake of doing them. We do things because we want to learn from them. So what is something that you might have learned from this entire process? Whether that's maybe a physical thing that you learned, like an actual technical detail, or it could be something you learned about yourself. Any sort of thing that helped you grow as a person, you want to mention that as well. So once we have that narrative kind of built around you, you want to pick the right evidence. So picking evidence, again, we just mean pick the activity that speaks to this prompt. The activity that you can build a narrative around that activity, whether it's an extracurricular, a sport, music, whatever it is that you've done that you want to talk about and that the prompt can really highlight, that's the evidence you want to pick. If you have questions about how to pick evidence, we can talk about that as well. And the last and probably most important piece of information, especially nowadays, is don't chat GPT anything. The UC system, as well as the Common App system, have very, very good plagiarization detection software. And even if you might chat GPT your early prompts, like your early stages of writing, or if you just cherry pick certain sentences, they will know. And once you're flagged, it's game over for you. And these are just too high of a stakes to try to even cheat your way through it. So please do not chat GPT anything. And also, with that being said, we're going to be showing you in this session some real life essays that have been submitted to schools such as Stanford, UCR, UCLA. So these are also stored in the school's database. So what we're doing is we just want to show you, we're going to kind of break down why this was a good essay, why this was a good intro. Please don't think of it as a guide or a stencil format. Just kind of learn how to write and don't think of it as the way to write, which basically means please don't copy it. Again, if you copy it, they have these essays in their database, so they will know. So please don't copy it. This is just an informational session. We're going to explain how to write. We're going to use as examples, but these are not like hard and fast rules, okay? All right, let's move on.
Yeah, so we had a question there. So can you elaborate what prompt means?
Yeah, I know that.
Sure. So prompt basically means the questions that whether that UC is asking you. So UC system calls these prompts as personal insight questions. So prompt is basically the essay question that they want you to answer. The UC system has 8 of these potential prompts. You're going to choose 4 of them, 4 questions that you want to write your essay on. That's what a prompt means.
Cool. Yeah, with that, I mean, we can actually break down one. So
yes,
let's take a look at this. Okay, here's actually a better question before we get into that. Would you suggest not using M dashes because of it possibly being recognized as AI?
That is a great question. I honestly I would try to avoid them just on instinct, but however, their softwares are very advanced. So they can tell from the rest of your writing that is not AI generated as long as if you have like 1 or 2 M dash, that's fine. And if you're using it correctly and in your own tone and your own word of voice, that's totally fine. But again, they have very advanced detection software. We've seen people get flagged. So just keep it in mind. Don't even ask ChatGPT to fix your grammar and stuff. So if you know how to use the dashes, by all means use them.
Yeah, if you know how to properly use an M dash, use it. If you don't. Cool. Okay, let's actually break down one of these prompts. So this is UC prompt number 1. If you look up UC prompts, these are the ones that are live today. Okay, so if we say, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you've positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. So you'll see some highlighted parts. Let's start with the top. What exactly is this prompt asking of me? Clear, it says something about my leadership experience. So it wants me to go in details about a very specific experience. It doesn't say, tell me how you're a leader. It doesn't say, explain to me what leadership traits you have. It just says, describe an example of your leadership experience. So that's one very tangible thing to do. Maybe it's some club I started or I'm part of. Maybe it's a community service organization. Maybe there's a story around some other extracurricular I have where I can speak to that experience I've had as a leader. The second part now is what was the impact, right? So is it positively influencing others, helping resolve disputes, or contributing to group efforts over time? One big catch here, it does not say and. So it does not mean write all three things and tell us how you made all three impacts. It's very specifically saying basically pick one of these three impacts you've done. You can talk about, hey, I've helped my club grow over time. Maybe resolving disputes. Maybe you're part of a soccer team and two players can get along. Or contribute to group efforts. How did I actually help my community? How did I help my school? How did I help everyone grow together? Pick one of them to basically make the anchor of your essay and make that the theme of your essay. Do not try answering all three. You'll basically end up answering none of them in the process. And the last part is what we said here. Think about what makes you unique. This is a general prompt. It's meant to be vague. It's meant to be very weirdly worded. It's meant to sound like I could talk about a million different things here. It's supposed to be like that because you get to pick the direction of your essay. That's the whole concept of it. As long as you have those highlighted parts, your leadership experience that you're explaining, and the impact you're making with one of these three impacts, and then obviously tie it in with what you learned, then you make it unique in your own sense. Maybe I learned something about myself, even though I helped contribute to group efforts over time. Maybe I positively influenced others, but in influencing others, I've actually learned how to maybe become a better leader. Maybe I positively influenced my own self in that process. So think about that and make that unique. That's what these prompts are doing. Every prompt is in this similar style. It'll usually be something of give me some sort of experience, whether it's leadership, community service, a skill, a talent. Second part will be what is the impact you're making? Sometimes they'll define scope. In this prompt, they told you helping others, resolving disputes or group efforts. Sometimes they'll just keep it vague. They'll just say, and what did you learn from it? And then the last part is always what I learned from this. Me as a writer, me as a student, what was my takeaway? Why does this whole essay and experience matter in the whole process?
Yeah, and there's actually a question in the chat saying, should the essay be more focused on their personality and how it grows over different clubs, or should it have a specific special technical work that they've done?
Yeah, that's a great question. So focus on one evidence, like we said. So don't pick a variety of different clubs. It's one club, maybe one special work. It doesn't really matter what that evidence is, as long as you're able to talk about how you grew as a person. So it's more about your personality and your traits over time, less about the actual event itself. So if it's just working a part-time job, that's great. How did you grow from that, working at a part-time job? Or if it's, hey, I'm part of like chess club at school. That's awesome. Yeah, there's thousands of chess clubs. But what was that specific experience? What is the moment you want to spend time with the admission officers to read through? That's kind of the end goal you're trying to get through. There's a question about, okay, I think another question went away. Okay, any other questions in the chat before we move on?
It's a good question. Again, we'll also have a question and answer at the end as well. But this is a great question. Do your personal side questions do you have to relate to your major or why you want to go to the college? Or is it something that you want to tie to be tied to the UC system, or should it just be focused on you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the questions are not intended for you to end up relating it to your major. If it opens up a scope for you to tie it into your major, by all means, you can do that. But they're not intended. They don't want to see specifically written essays for one major because it gets very boring. They know you have a passion towards that major. And you don't have to do a college specific either. The UCSU prompts cover all your UCs. So it doesn't matter if you're doing UCSD or UCI or Berkeley or LA, you're covering across the UC school system. So you don't need to be specific to, I want to attend UCLA for this reason. So you don't have to tie it in. It's more so focused on you as a person. At the end of the day, as an admissions officer, all I'm looking for is this student a really strong ambassador to my curriculum, to my university, to what we represent, say 4 years down the line once you graduate. So you want to give them as much evidence around that.
Exactly. Every person is unique. Everyone has unique experiences. So there's nothing that's going to be universal for everyone. Whether that's the way you write is not going to be universal and the experiences you have aren't going to be universal. You just want to explain yourself, explain who you are as a person, as a member of the community, as a student. That's what they want to see. because they can see the rest of it in your resume and your GPA and all of that. They need to see who you are as a person.
Cool. Okay, specific words or phrases used for a good hook. We'll go through an intro example right now, and you'll get a good idea of kind of how to frame it. But there's nothing specific. There's no template. There's no boilerplate answer for all of this. You'll see essays that you think that doesn't sound like a good hook, but they get in. There'll be some that you feel like is a very strong narrative and they don't get accepted. So there's no specific format. If it was that easy, this would be great. It's very much variable, right? So it depends on how you flow the entire essay and overall your personality and your kind of character as a student. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Again, great questions, so keep them coming in the chat. All right, so UC essays in general. Let me actually move my screen here. Cool. Okay, so UC essays in general, UCs are 350 words. They call them personal insights, like Sindhu said. 350 words is not a lot, even if it sounds like it is. It's really understanding who you are holistically. So they're not looking for very specific activities. They're not looking for specific things related to majors. They're just trying to understand who is the student, what can I understand about them that I don't already see in a transcript, basically. You pick 4 out of the 8 prompts. There are 8 prompts in total. You get to pick whichever 4 you want. None of them are weighted differently. It's all the same weightage. The only recommendation we have is don't pick number 8, the last prompt. The last prompt usually is structured around like if there's anything else you want to add or if nothing else fits in the other prompts, right? Number 8 never ever works. We've yet to see it. Because the concept is if you're writing something for that last prompt, it most likely fits into one of the other 7 prompts. So if it doesn't feel like it's fitting into the other 7 prompts, you're doing something wrong. So don't pick number 8, pick out of the 7. They usually will cover everything you want to talk about. Which 4 you pick does not matter. Again, they don't care as long as you have a really strong narrative around that. What else we recommend is pick one evidence, like we said. So one activity, one extracurricular. Do not try to mush multiple things together so into one essay because it doesn't sound right. They'll understand that you're just trying to like mush all these different things. You lose your story in that process. So pick one extracurricular, one activity for each essay you write. Use that as kind of the central evidence for your essay and just structure it around there. Don't try to squeeze multiple things. Again, they don't care if you're in 10 different clubs or 2 different clubs or 20 different service organizations you joined. They just care for this essay specifically, what are you trying to convey to me? And then the last part we always say is your first draft is your worst draft. Write everything in your first draft. It should be like a full word vomit. Go up to 500 words, 1,000 words. It doesn't matter. Ignore the word counts. Ignore everything. Just get your thoughts out. That will help you a lot because that first draft is going to be basically this throwaway draft, and you'll just have good ideas to pick from it. And then from there, you can start to refine and really build a stronger essay. Cool. What questions we got? I feel like this chat's blown. Okay, essay should just be a 1-pager. Essay is a word count, so it's not by page. UC is 350. Do you have any experiences as admission officer for the UCs? We're not admission officers, but we are ex-students. So we've been through this process and we've helped others. Cool. All right, should we go see an actual essay now?
Again, a reminder, please don't copy it. We're gonna break down and explain why this was a good intro, why it doesn't mean that this is the exact thing that's gonna get you into college. Actually, if you think like that, this is gonna be the exact thing that doesn't get you college, because they're gonna rank this as plagiarism. So don't copy it. Don't even take like bits and pieces of it. Just understand why what makes this a good intro. So please don't copy it. All right, this is the last time I'm gonna say it. But don't get caught for plagiarism.
Cool. And this is recorded, so you'll have all these tips afterwards. Cool. Okay, so let's look at an actual example. This is answering this prompt over here. What have you done to make your school or community a better place? And this is a real essay, like Cindy mentioned. So this was actually accepted. Okay, so let's just read through it. So during the COVID pandemic, I've watched parents struggle to support their family from home while taking care of their child's education, and I saw students struggle to transition into online learning. So this is a pretty simple one. It doesn't have a lot of fluff to it. It doesn't have anything super mind-blowing. It's not like an emotional hook that we see quite often. It's very, very straight out and simple. But why is this really effective? In one sentence, you've gotten a really, really good context and glimpse into what this student is about to go into. Obviously, COVID pandemic, everyone kind of knows what's going on. But you see that first part. I've watched parents struggle to support their family from home while taking care of their child's education. Great. So this is something to do with a disconnect. We obviously know education took a big hit during the pandemic, lots of different changes. So they're recognizing some sort of problem there. And then I saw students struggle to transition into online learning. So I see that this student recognized this problem in their community. Maybe it's in their school, maybe it's through an organization. I don't really care at this point. But what I did get from this is this student has a very clear understanding of what problem they're trying to solve and get a general understanding of where this essay is going to go. They're going to do something for students, probably some sort of online learning help, maybe something for parents as well. And somehow that's going to obviously better their community or better their school. What really makes this great is super simple, very little word count. Like we said, 80-20, right? 20% context, 80% on what you actually do and what's about you. This gets the job done very quickly. One sentence, intro sentence, that's it. You're ready to move on. I don't need any more context. And as an admissions officer, I have a general understanding of where this essay is headed. So I can now move into, okay, let's actually figure out what the student did. Let's figure out what the actual impact was. What did they learn from this process? Which is really what I care about more as an admissions officer. Cool. I'll take a breather right there before we move into the next parts of this. No questions? Okay. All right. So let's go to the next section. This is a different, I think it's the same essay. So different prompt here. Again, these are real essays. But this is, let's focus on the evidence part. So this is like the little middle part. This is focusing on the actual activity or extracurricular they wanted to talk about. Again, so this prompt is the first prompt, personal insight number 1. Describe an example of your leadership experience in which you've positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. Okay. So if we go into this, my first goal was to expand the program in my area. I began in my high school, went classroom to classroom to recruit students. I was encouraged by the success I had at my school, so I decided to expand the program by reaching out to principals in the school district. While most were not interested in taking on the entire program, they were open to me leading the program on their sites. Okay. Now, first, intentionally, we took this excerpt out of the entire essay. The reason is we wanted you to see how an admissions officer is going to look at this. This is a net new essay. It's not related to the intro one I just showed. You don't know what the program is. You don't know what the hook was. You don't even know what they're talking about. That's the whole premise here. But what makes this still work as its own standout part of the UCA essay for evidence specifically? Look at what, again, the student is saying. You'll see a lot of narrative around, I did this, I did that, I learned this, I gained this. My first goal is to expand the program in my area. Great, that's fine. I began at my high school and went classroom to recruit students. That one sentence is actually doing a lot as an anchor point here for evidence. It's saying, as a student, I put in a lot of effort to get this done. I recognized where to go for resources. I recognized what I needed to do. They needed to recruit students for some program, whatever the program was here. They started in their high school, makes sense. That's your local resource. They went classroom to classroom, lots of initiative taken. Yeah, how you got to classroom, I don't really care. But as an admissions officer, I do see that you did something about this program. You were clearly passionate about it. You wanted to recruit students. You wanted to make that difference. So I see that leadership experience coming out. That's the whole point of the prompt. So I see that you took initiative, went classroom to classroom. Great. Go to the next part now. I was encouraged by the success I had at my school, so I decided to expand the program by reaching out to principals in the school district. Oh, that should. So right away, we see what happened here. I went from high school to high school, classroom to classroom, recruiting students. Initiative was taken. I transitioned into encouraged by the success. So it's implied that this worked. The classroom to classroom recruitment thing worked. Clearly the program was expanding. And again, now what is the student doing here in the writing? They're encouraged by the success. So they decide to expand the program. Again, leadership. This program was going really well. Their high school really picked up to it. They had this moment where they said, you know what? I'm going to go out further. I'm going to say, why can't I just go to the entire school district and why just expand my program because I know it's doing good. Again, with just this excerpt, I don't know what that program was. I don't know what the student is actually doing, but I'm getting a lot of insights into why this student is a strong leader in their community. So they went door to door. Now they're going to different principals. They acknowledged, okay, while most were not interested in taking the entire program, they were open to me leading the program on their sites. So I get it. The world doesn't work magically. I'm not expecting this to be a essay where they say, oh, I have 10,000 students on my program. But in reality, I see that they tried. They tried to reach out to principals. They recognized, okay, this might not expand as easily, but I still was able to take a win from it. They want me to lead their program on their sites. Maybe it's a small little portion. Maybe it's some sort of partial win. It's fine. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me as admissions officers in this one little paragraph, I've seen you go from expanding the program in your local high school where you went door to door, recognizing that that worked and you want to actually amplify your impact. So then you went out to the entire school district. You recognize that, hey, this is not as easy to go to the whole school district, but I still got my wins from it. Really quickly in this one paragraph, that leadership example stands out incredibly well. I see that this person just gets things done. They take initiative, they get out of their way, they're willing to be open, they're willing to take risks, they're willing to put themselves out there. And that's a huge, huge value add because that prompt is really important for this specific essay. Take a pause.
They were long gone.
No, but I could hazard a guess.
Good. Okay. Okay, let's go to the actual conclusion now. So, okay, same prompt, different essay. So it's a completely different part, but same example of leadership prompt. How do they actually close this entire essay? Leading this project broadened my understanding of others. It opened my eyes to the situations of others. Through my encouragement, I could see how these cards would affect not only Rachel and people in need, but the writers of the cards. Again, it's an excerpt intentionally. I don't even know what these cards are. I have no idea who Rachel is. But in this takeaway, what did I get again from this conclusion? That first line is that line. Leading this project broadened my understanding of others. It opened my eyes to the situations of others. That is what I learned from this whole thing. This essay, I could imagine, starts from some realization they had. They probably started something to do with cards and sending. We actually know the story, but I won't tell you the actual story. And then it goes through this thing, and they had this realization that, hey, I helped other people. I realized there's a lot of problems that people face, and I could see that what I did positively influenced people. Someone like Rachel in this story that follows through in the entire story, and people in need, and also the writers of the card, which could be maybe my community or my group. What's great is, again, very simple ending. It doesn't have a lot of emotional fluff to it. It's not very wordy. It doesn't use a lot of flowery language. It's very simple, very effective. I got the takeaway that, look, this person's a leader. They learned a lot about themselves. They did something that was successful in their area and their community. And they realized that, hey, this actually helps a lot of people. And that's a big win for them. Again, you don't need to change the world. Just make your corner of the world a better place. And that's exactly what this essay did. And that's kind of that ending just ties it all really, really neatly together. Cool. Okay, let's take a pause there real quick. Collect your thoughts. We're going to go into Common App next. So before we go into Common App, if there are any questions about UCs, about these three examples, general UCSA tips, write them in the chat now, or else we will go on to Common App. Nope. Nothing? Okay. Let's go to Common App. So maybe we
All right, we got a couple questions.
Okay.
So does the evidence need to be completely about themselves?
Yeah, so the evidence is basically your extracurricular. So yes, it should ideally be about something you're part of. It doesn't have to be It's just some extracurricular you're part of. So if you're part of a club, yeah, there's multiple people in it, but it's focused on your contribution in that club.
And then next question, are the same questions used each year?
In theory, yes, but they're supposed to change them year on year. They may change a few words here and there, but for the last few years, it's been pretty standard. So
Yeah. All right. And there's another question that do we need really good extracurriculars to get into UCs?
no, the really good extracurriculars is just how you write about them. So there's no like definition of a really good extracurricular. Something I like is not something that you might not like as much, doesn't mean anything to the admissions officers. So it can be anything from your sports to your music to your clubs to community service to part-time jobs. We've had people do like fun little side activities. They found hobbies and people wrote about their hobbies, even though it has no real affiliation to the school or the community, but they're still able to. So it's whatever fits you as a person.
Mhm. And is the intro only one sentence to talk about the prompt?
It's not necessarily one sentence. I would say there's no definition in terms of how, maybe two sentences, three sentences. It varies, but the idea is it's not to talk about the prompt. Your entire essay is talking about the prompt. That intro sentence, that hook, is really just to set the context up and draw me in as an admissions officer. Like we said, 30 to 60 seconds. So that first thing I'm reading is that first couple of sentences in the first paragraph. So is it enticing enough for me to want to keep reading this essay? Is it enticing enough for me to spend even just an extra 10, 15 seconds going a little bit more deeply into this essay? That's all that intro is really doing. So you're setting up context, you're drawing that reader in, you're drawing the admissions officer in. That's the point.
I do want to reiterate one point that you said, which is there's no clubs or extra orgs that are gonna automatically get you accepted into any college. What matters is you're able to answer the question of what did you do and why did you do it? Why was it important for you? Why was it important maybe for your community that you did what you did? So there's really no perfect org that's going to get you into college. It's really just whatever the student likes, whatever the student's passionate about. Because when you write with passion, that admissions officer is going to see your passion, and that's what it's all about. So just make sure you're doing what you actually want to do. Cool. We're gonna do some last calls for UC questions. Again, we're gonna have an option to answer questions at the end as well. So if you can't think of anything right now, no worries.
Cool. Okay, let's get started with Common App.
Go to Common App then. All right, so Common App and UC, they're very similar in terms of the way you're going to write your essay. So the 5 parts, the hook, introduction, evidence, why did it matter, and what did you learn from it? You're going to follow that same exact procedure, but the rules are just a little bit different. So the Common App essay is 650 words, so it's almost double what the UC essays are. And they want to see again, they want to see the same thing. Who are you as a person? What's your character?
Sindhu, just sorry to pause you. Hey, Ani, is there a limit, Ani? I'm getting messages that you reached the maximum number. People are, I think, still trying to join. They're getting a message. I think 100 is the limit. Is there a way to increase that?
There shouldn't be a limit. This is on the paid. Let me
Oh,
check.
yeah, I tried because I got messages. So I tried and I'm getting, you reached the maximum number of people allowed.
Okay, let me check. This should be on the paid one, so there shouldn't be any limits.
See if you can increase.
Yeah, I'll go through it right now.
Okay.
Cool. Keep going.
And
Shimon.
also, can you block the video of other people? It's distracting the class.
Can I what?
Stop the video.
Video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Continue on. Thank you.
Good.
Sorry, Sindhu.
No, you're good.
Whoever is Gauri, can you please stop your video? Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the Common App essays, again, like I said, they're 650 words, so they're gonna be longer than your UC essays. Now, much longer also means that your essays can be more detailed. So you can include a little bit of extra context, a little bit of extra details about your org, about what you did. I think we switched the slides. Um, yeah,
Hold on.
yeah, no worries. I will answer the question in the chat though. What is the Common App essay, and is it different? Is it for a different set of universities? Yes. So the Common App essay is essentially one essay that you're going to write, 650 words, and that essay will be shared amongst multiple universities that use the Common App application platform. So universities like Stanford, I believe U Chicago, maybe not, but I know for a fact Stanford, they're going to be using the Common App essay. So you just write one essay and it'll be sent to any university that you apply that's within the Common App platform. You can see if the colleges that you want to apply are in that platform or not. But that's the point of the Common App. All right. All right. So let me keep going. Again, like we said, it is more detailed. So you can actually focus on different aspects of what you've done. With that being said, it doesn't mean you can add as much context as you want. We're still going to follow the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of your essay is going to be focused around you, around your narrative, your experiences, and 20% is going to be focused on the actual context of what you've done. All right, so just because it's longer doesn't mean we can break the 80-20 rule. All right, so once you've got that kind of done, we want to center around one theme. So for the UC essays, we centered around one evidence, whether it was one activity, one org, one painting class, whatever it was one evidence. Here we're focusing on one theme. That's purely because it's a little bit larger of an essay. So your theme can be anything that you feel passionate about. It could be, we'll show you an example of like teaching, we'll show you an example of feminism, whatever your theme is, you want to really focus in on that theme. Again, admissions officers only have 60 seconds. They're going to skim through this essay in 60 seconds. So you have 1 minute to show the officer what you're passionate about, what did you do, and why did you do it. So you want to make sure that theme is really clear to see. If we have to read every single word to understand what you're trying to do, then you're not conveying your point effectively. So again, center on that one theme. Don't try to muddle things together. Definitely don't resume spit, which is what a lot of people try to do. Is they try to put everything that's in their resume, everything that's in their brag sheet in one essay because there's more words. Just because you have more space, it doesn't mean you can muddle your essay around. So just focus on one theme and make that theme very clear from the beginning. Again, we'll show you an introduction and we'll explain how it's making that theme very clear. And lastly, the first draft is the only thing that's going to be very similar to the UC essays, which is just word vomit, like we said. Get your ideas out there. Don't worry about the word count, just write. It's going to be really easy to remove the extra words than it is to add new words. So don't worry about the word count. Just write whatever you think. We can tighten it and you can refine it in the later iterations. All right? All right, let's go. If there's no questions.
One question.
Yes.
Is it just one version of the essay for all universities in Common App? Can we submit variations based on colleges?
Great question. But the way the Common App works is it's going to be just that one essay. So the same essay that you write for the Common App is going to be the same essay that's going to be given to all the different universities that use the Common App. So you don't need to tailor it to university. It's not university specific. It's not even major specific. You just write about what it is that you're passionate about.
Yeah, we recommend writing one because one is enough work
Yeah.
instead of writing variations. The caveat is if you submit your Common App, anyone before that you submit to, they see that version. Going forward, any new submissions, you can always change it. So, if you haven't submitted an app, technically you can send variations, but don't do that, please. Just stick to one version and just submit one version.
Yeah, they don't really need to be college specific. That's not really what colleges are looking for. They're just looking for, again, your character, who you are, what your experiences, and why they're important to you. Not why they're going to be important to the university or why they're going to be important to an admissions officer. Early versus regular decision. Can we revise? Yes, you can revise if you're going to be doing early action. Then obviously to submit your essay much earlier and you can revise it. But usually if you're willing to submit it for early action, that means your essay is ready to go. So you can just submit the same essay for your regular decision. But it's up to you. If you feel, you wake up one night and you realize, you know what, I could have changed this one word, by all means, go for it. But maybe don't change your entire theme or anything. Don't rewrite the essay, basically.
Cool. Okay, let's get into
And some examples. All right. So this is an example of an essay that was accepted into Stanford. And it's going to take a little bit of time for you guys to read it. So I want you all to take a moment, look through it. And I want to focus your attention on the first sentence. All right. Radha, a 14-year-old girl with a face of innocence and a mind filled with curiosity, was born and raised in Hyderabad, India, a booming tech city with poverty hidden away in its shadows. Now, it's a vague line. There's no context to this. All we know is that there's a girl named Radha. She lives in Hyderabad, India, and the writer put a little bit of there's poverty hidden away into shadows. This is a very effective hook because it's mysterious, but not confusing. So it's telling the admissions officer, hey, there's this girl. She might be poor, she might not be poor. But we want to keep reading to find out who is this girl Radha. Why does it matter that she's 14? Why does it matter that her mind is filled with curiosity? We're not just putting these facts in for the fun of it. The author had a very clear purpose, and we're going to figure out that purpose in the next couple of sentences. When we move on from there, we're going to say, I met Radha when I visited my relatives in India. Okay, we can skip past that. She worked as an aide in my grandparents' house as my grandmother was bedridden because of injury. Okay, so she has a job. She's 14-year-old. She's a 14-year-old girl, and she's working as an aide. Okay, that's interesting for the admissions officer to think about. Like, okay, it's a 14-year-old girl. She's working. One more sentence is all it's going to take. Since Radha was my age, we bonded in no time and became good friends. But the question about her education bothered me. That's all it takes for the admissions officer to have a good idea of where this essay is going to go. We have a hook. We have a very interesting hook, right? We know that there is some girl named Radha. She's curious. That's why the author is mentioning here that there's a mind full of curiosity. So we know that this young girl Radha, she's curious. She wants to learn, but it looks like she might be having a full-time job and not focusing on her education. Now, again, as a admissions officer, I only have 60 seconds. So when I skim through that, the main pieces that I've picked up are young girl, full-time work, most likely not full-time education. That's all it takes. That's all I know from the intro, but it's definitely setting up that context, right? It's setting up the context of I think I know what this author is going to go into. I think the author is going to talk about the importance of education, maybe specifically the importance of education in women, or just the importance of education as a whole, right? We're going to be talking about this young girl experience and why the author thinks is important. She says in the very beginning, we bonded in no time and became good friends. She was my age, right? Radha was my age. So that is giving the admissions officers a little bit more context. This is important because whoever the author of this essay is, she can see herself in Radha. She sees herself that she is the same age and they're becoming good friends, but she's seeing Radha go through some potential problem. We don't know what that problem is just yet, but we know that there's going to be some issue. Radha's going through something. So this is what we kind of want from an intro. We want the admissions officer to be hooked onto what they're reading. I know there's a girl named Radha. This is interesting. I want to know more about Radha. So I'm going to keep reading. But at the same time, it's not vague or extremely flowery, fluffy language, right? It's not just putting in random words and then hoping it makes sense. There's a very clear flow. There's some context in it, and there's some mysterious girl. So then now the admissions officer is going to I'm going to spend a little more time continuing this essay. That's what the goal is. Having to make sure they spend some time in your essay to remember you. All right. So yeah, we have some context in here and we have a little bit of a good hook. All right. Any questions for that? Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we have one about supplemental essays. We'll talk about supplemental essays at the end.
Okay. Now let's go into the evidence. All right, now this is a different essay, and this was accepted at Purdue. So this is going to be a different essay than what we just talked about for the intro. But take a moment to read through this. And like we said, evidence has to be something tangible. It's not just saying, we're explaining, I'm this kind of a person. I'm either a leader, I'm a teacher, but they need evidence, right? I can tell the admissions officer all they want about myself, but they need to see some proof that I really am who I say I am. I can say I'm a great leader, but they need to see evidence that I am a good leader. So the evidence comes from the different extracurricular activities that you've done, anything that you've done that proves that either you're a good leader, that proves your point that you're trying to make. So in this case, what's really good about this evidence is from the get-go, they say, I joined this org. What the org is does not matter. It doesn't say that just because they joined TWS, they're going to get into college. The admissions officer probably doesn't even know what TWS is. So that's why the next few words, to bring STEM education to underserved students, is all I need to know. As an admissions officer, I get it. You're teaching students STEM. I don't need to know when the org was created, who created it, why was it created. I don't need to know any of that. All I know is there's this org teaching students. All right, that's all the context I need to continue this essay and to understand it. All right. So the next sentence goes, on my first day at the library, the room buzzed with excitement and skepticism. Okay, like that's a nice sentence. We're not really setting up much, but we'll keep going. I dropped a flat piece of paper to introduce drag, then launched a paper airplane to show how its pointed tip reduced drag, drawing silent giggles. Okay. This, like we just said, is tangible evidence. We know that this student joined some org, and now we know that this student is showing these young kids very simple experiments, right? We're seeing very tangible evidence. We're seeing exactly what this student did. Okay. We're seeing that what the student is doing, not just saying I'm a teacher or I love to teach students or I'm sparking their curiosity, which we'll see in a couple sentences down. We're saying that this is how I did it. This is the proof that I truly did what I'm saying I can do. All right. So now we're keep going where he says, outside, I held up a frisbee and asked, ever wonder why a frisbee soars? Sending it flying, I explained, it's all about stability, sparking their curiosity and prompting eager what-if questions. When I read that as a admissions officer, I can see, okay, this student likes to teach. Not only is he interested in STEM, but is also able to teach these kids STEM in a very accessible way, which is exactly what this org is about. They want to teach these students in an accessible, easy way, and he's sparking their curiosity, right? This is very clear, concrete evidence that the student knows what he's doing in terms of STEM and engineering, but also in terms of following the true mission of this org, right? Again, I probably, as a missions officer, I would spend like 5-6 seconds skimming through this one little paragraph. But in that 5-6 seconds, I saw evidence, very, very clear evidence that this kid knows what he's doing. The org that he joined doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that was TWS. It could be any other org. But it just shows in very simple, small ways that he was trying to teach these kids. And he's showing what happened. What was the result of that? He was sparking their curiosity, right? So we don't just want to see what you did. We also see what was the result of that? What happened, right? So this is all tangible evidence. And this is what we say when we say evidence. We mean find an activity that shows proof of what you've accomplished and why you accomplished it was important. Right? All right. Any questions from there? Don't think so. All right. Then last, we're going to go to a conclusion. So this conclusion is going to be from the same essay that the introduction was from. We can see that very clearly, right? And that is the main point. This is the reason why we wanted the introduction and conclusion to come from the same essay is for this exact reason. Without reading the rest of the essay, we only know the top of the essay, the introduction, we only know the conclusion of the essay. We can see clearly that this student is writing about educational oppression. specifically in women, right? You don't need to know the rest of the essay to know that. We can see it very clearly. I've seen my peers turn away from STEM degrees due to the lack of recruitment and scholarship opportunities. So we know that this student has had firsthand experience, which is what makes this entire issue of educational oppression among women very important to them. Right? So this is answering the question, why does it matter? Why does it matter to the author that they did this? That's why. Right? We can see why. She's seen her peers struggle. And then we can move on to Radha's educational oppression is a microcosm of the widespread problem. Whether at home, school, or work, women around the world walk in Radha's shoes every day. So clearly the theme that they're focusing on, the author's focusing on here, is feminism and equality in terms of education. Right? That's what literally they say, that feminism, women empowerment, equality are not terms reminding women to stand tall and proud. Rather, they are terms amplifying our voice to remind the world to see our power. So this is what we say when we say have your essay center around a theme. The theme in this case wasn't exactly one activity, but the theme is feminism. The theme is about educational oppression. It's about making sure everyone has equal access to education. And without knowing the rest of the essay, we can see that. We can see that from the introduction when he introduced Radha and the fact that she might not have a full-time education. And we can see in the conclusion here where it says, people walk in Radha's shoes every day. This is what we mean by theme. We're tying everything together. And we're also talking about why it's important. This first-hand experience that maybe the author didn't experience herself, but she saw her friends experience it. She saw Radha experience it. So this is what we mean when we say theme and tying everything together. All right, we're not focusing on exactly what the student did because we don't know what the student did in these two excerpts, but we know there's a very, very clear theme, right? And we want to focus on that theme. This is a great example of a conclusion for the exact reason. It's telling people, why did it matter? Why was it important to not only you as a reader, but to the author? Why did she do what she did? This is why. Does that make sense? Anyone have any question?
We have a question. So how do you make an essay like this connect to you? Isn't this too far away from explaining your personality?
Yeah, so your goal isn't exactly to explain your personality, like I'm a, type INTJ or whatever they're called, right? That's not the goal of this. The goal is to explain what you did and why you're passionate about it. And your personality will naturally come up when you write, right? Same thing with your passion. Your passion will naturally be there in the words you're writing if you truly believe in them. So the way you can connect an essay is just based on what you write about, right? So this author wrote about feminism and educational pressure because that's what she truly believed in. What you truly believe in might be something different, something elsewhere. But when you write about that, the same way we broke this essay apart, if you write your essay very similar to that, then your passion and your interest will come out as well. And so your personality will also come out as well. Does that answer your question, I hope?
Okay, then get 2 answers later.
All right, next question is, will they give you a topic or do you choose?
Yeah, the Common App, again, like you said, says there are prompts that you're gonna write from.
Yep.
And then
so
you're
you
just gonna focus your evidence around which the prompt that you want to write about.
Cool. All right. Maybe let's pause for a minute. If you have any questions, type them out in the chat. For Common App.
Mm-hmm.
Can have an awkward silence minute, it's fine. Let's see.
Yes, I should have mentioned this. So the question is, you mentioned not to choose number 8 for the UC. Is it the same for the Common App? Yes. Do not choose number 8 for the Common App. Never choose the last prompt for any college application. Any prompt that says write about whatever you want, don't write about whatever you want. The prompt that you're gonna get, or the evidence that you have, will fit into any other prompt. So don't fall for the trap of trying to write into essay number 8. If your evidence will definitely fit into another prompt, that's where they make the prompt so broad and kind of vague. So you can write it for one of the other 7 prompts. All right.
Where can we get the recording? We'll send the recording after the meeting.
Yeah, we will share it in the WhatsApp, like once we get it from you.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, we are good.
Okay, right.
All right. Any more Common App questions? Okay. All right, we'll talk about one last thing and then we'll go into Q&A. Okay, so we are mid-October. Quick deadlines. We probably already know these, but UCSA is open November 1st to submit. You have until the end of November to actually submit it. We recommend submit before that Thanksgiving kind of holiday break time, because pretty much the last day or last 2 days of November, the UC system crashes. Guaranteed. I will bet money on it that it will crash. So every year it's crashed, and they don't really, it's not their responsibility if your essay does not go through in time. So submit it before, we recommend right before like that Thanksgiving. That way you can at least chill during Thanksgiving, but just don't do it the last day or 2 of it. Common Apps depends what colleges you're playing, but they're anywhere from December to January. For regular decision, early decisions should be November 1st for most universities. So if you're doing a early decision, early action, that's basically 2 weeks out. UCSAs are basically 5-ish weeks out. If you haven't started, which I hope you've started with something, start with a college list. 10 to 12 colleges approximately. Don't apply to a whole boatload of them. Be very thoughtful of where you're applying to. Split it based on categories. So what are the kind of dream schools, the Stanfords and MITs of the world? What's maybe your reach schools, and what's your backup schools that you can kind of reliably get into? Once you have that, write a brag sheet out, basically a fancy resume that just says, I did all these amazing things. That way you have one source to pick an evidence from. Like we mentioned at the beginning, pick your prompts thoughtfully. Best way to do it is just go through all the prompts and write kind of bullet points for each prompt or what you think you could write about, and then go through and figure out which one sounds the strongest or which one you feel like you have the most content for. Like we mentioned throughout this whole thing, first drafts are worst drafts. So write a first draft. Don't optimize for having the best thing in the beginning. Just write whatever you want, and then you can refine from there. And then again, revise and tighten. So there are multiple drafts for every essay you write. We have seen upwards of close to maybe 10 drafts for an essay. Some get it done within 2 or 3 drafts. It doesn't matter. Just keep tightening it, keep revising it, and please proofread. Don't make the mistake of having a typo in your essay, because 1, that's just embarrassing, and 2, it doesn't look like you put a lot of thought into it if you messed up words that you could have spelled. So those are the main things to focus on. Trying to see if there's something else I want to say, but okay, is there a way to see past accepted essays similar to what you're presenting? There may be sources online. I wouldn't rely on them though, because they're kind of pointless. So focus on writing your own thing.
Also, the more you read like other past accepted essays, it's gonna color your opinions a little bit, and the way you write will be very similar to the essays that you read online. So at that point, your personality and your passions aren't gonna come out as clearly, and it's gonna be a little bit, they're gonna tell that it was a combination of opinions, a combination of writing styles. So just really stay true to yourself. Again, first draft just to get everything out there. Don't worry about, is this good enough? Don't have enough words. Like just write it, take a deep breath, and then you can revise and tighten it, and then get to the essay that you really want to submit. All right.
Cool. Yeah, real quick, I'll get to the questions on that. A piece of advice for parents in this room: please let your child write the first draft. I don't even know if our parents are in this one, but just write the first draft. One of the things that's really well is as tempting as it may be to be overly involved, let them write. Your student knows a lot more than you think. So give them a chance, let them write it out. Be more of a proofreader and a guidance. Do not be a writer for them. Don't be an unnecessary voice. That's the nicest way I'll say it. Cool. Okay. Do you recommend Avid? Avid's a good program if you feel like it'll benefit you. Sinu and I did not do it, but it's completely up to you. No right or wrong answer there. So if you feel like you could use the help, go for it. What are early decision? Here, I'll just move to questions too. What are early decision timeframes? Dependent by college, most of them I believe are like November 1st is when they do a deadline, but it depends. For those of you who don't know, early decision or early action are usually private universities that you can send an application earlier to, and you'll get a decision back earlier as well. It's a way of saying, I really like this university that I'd be willing to spend extra time to get things done faster for them, and I'm willing to almost commit to them if I get in. The difference between early decision and early action is early decision is a commitment. So if you get into a university that does early decision, you are committing to going to that university. If you get into a university that has early action, you're not committing to it, but you do get your decision earlier. So you can basically enroll earlier. It doesn't really do much more than that, but it's up to you. So we see a lot of people do early decision, early actions for Stanford, MIT, these kind of larger ones. USC, I think, has one, things like that.
Yeah. Feel free to unmute if you want, if you have a question. Otherwise, you guys can keep typing in the chat.
Yeah, keep it on the chat. Your take on demonstrated interest. Can you explain demonstrated interest? Maybe chat. Oh, wait. Take your time to type. It's fine. Like, yeah, we have the chat open, so it's a lot easier.
Should I talk more about what I had accomplished or my personality in my essays? So, like we said, your personality is going to come out when you write. Your voice, your personality, your passion, all that will be coming out onto your essay. It's just gonna be there, whether you like it or not. So you want to talk about what you accomplished is your evidence. So you do want to talk about what you've accomplished and why it was important to you. So the last part is where your personality comes in. Why did you do what you did, and why was it important? What did you learn from it? That is where your personality is going to really shine through. All right. So you don't need to focus on like I'm a leader, and I'm a great leader, and talk about all about your personality and leadership. You can talk about your accomplishments as proof as to you're a leader and why you did was important to you. All right. So personality will come through. It will shine through no matter what.
Oh, okay. So colleges track students' interest in factoring admissions. Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about. Basically, all the forms and the group sessions and whatnot that show up. I don't think they actually factor it into the admissions process. They track it. You can go sign up and subscribe to every newsletter out there if you want. It really won't be the deal breaker. At the end of the day, they're not running a list on who submitted their email for me. Cool. Sharing is done. That's the last slide. It's just a question slide. I mean, I can leave it open if you want to see it. But
Would you recommend mentioning activities that you started this year in your application essays? Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You don't need to be an experienced member in Oregon or to essay. If what you're writing about is important to you, or what you're doing is important to you, even if you're a new member, that's totally okay. Again, as long as you have the 5 main points, which is, do you have a hook introduction, but do you have the evidence to prove what you're saying, and why it's important, and what did you learn? If you have those points, you can be a fresh member, you can be the president of an org. I'm gonna follow the second question, I'm gonna tie right into this. You can be the president of an org. It won't matter to the admissions officer. Again, as long as you're able to say and prove your point, it really won't matter. So the second question is, do colleges actually check to see if you're a president of a club? In terms of checking, like they're not gonna call the school and be like, hey, is this person really ASB president? They're not really gonna verify anything. So you can say it if you want and just lie. But again, what's the point? Just talk about your experience. Being president is not gonna make a break. right? Like a president of an org can be rejected from the same college as a student, as just a member in the org. They can get accepted. So it doesn't matter if you're president or not. It just matters, again, what are your experience? What did you learn? Why did you do it?
Yeah. If you're not president and the president does write an essay, they will figure it out anyway. So
Yes,
you're
that
judged
too.
based on your school. Fun fact, especially for UCs, you are judged based on your school. So they're not checking you against, some private school kid down the street. They're checking you against your school because they want to see, did you leverage the resources you had at your disposal? Cool. We skipped one question, by the way, in the middle. If you apply for early decision, are you only allowed to apply for one school, or can you apply for multiple? You can apply for multiple early decision schools, but if you get accepted into multiple early decision schools, you'll have to somehow figure out how to tell one of them no, because it is technically a commitment. How strict they're about it depends. You could toss it up. I mean, the top schools probably care more, but yeah, we recommend doing one early decision. You can do multiple early actions though, because those are non-commitment, so they're non-binding. So you can do as many as you want, but try to do one early decision. Anyway, the whole point of an early decision is saying you actually like that school. So if you're doing multiple, then sort the priorities of which school you actually like.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I'll ask one general question. I think this is a common concern to most of the students and parents. So is the essay a reflection of their, like as you said, their personality or their academic accomplishment? I know some students, they're in multiple clubs. They say, "Oh, I've done 1,000 hours of volunteering. I've been in multiple club sports and Boy Scouts or like whatnot, right?"
Yeah.
So is the essay like to project like all these accomplishments, or is it something that they're looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not all your accomplishments. They're just trying to understand you from the extracurriculars you choose to give them. So they're not looking for a list of every single accomplishment, achievement, and extracurricular you're part of. For a specific prompt, a specific essay, can you talk about one experience that matters? That's the evidence we keep talking about. And so, I mean, for example, we'll be honest. So Sinu and I did not do music, sports, or any of your kind of checklist options in high school at all. We weren't part of 100 different clubs. We didn't have a whole lot of community service. We were part of our kind of clubs we wanted to do. So, I mean, I chess club, we did math club, we did all the nerdy clubs you could think of. Nothing like checkbox worthy or national organizations or anything like that. But we were able to speak to it, for example. We've had students in the past who've they weren't part of clubs, but they talked about their hobbies. And they just say, hey, I really like learning, to play guitar or woodwork or whatever I do at home. It's not part of any organization. It's not affiliated to anything. But they just check and they like doing that. So they talked about it. We've had people talk about their part-time jobs at, yogurt shops, which is again, like it doesn't really matter what you do. They know you're just some minimum wage teenager getting paid at a yogurt shop. It's more so what is the experience? What is your takeaway? What did you learn from that?
Exactly. It doesn't, again, we were part of the nerdy clubs. We weren't like captain of a sports team or anything like that. But what we did are things that we truly enjoyed. And both him and I, we had different things that we enjoyed. We're very different in that sense. But I did the things that I was really passionate about, and I was able to write passionately in my essays because again, I truly enjoyed every moment of what I was doing. I wasn't just in an org for the sake of being in an org. I created things because I really, really wanted to. All right. So that's the most important part.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna go through these. So do colleges actually check? We did that. How much impact does a foreign language add to the application? If you can talk about a foreign language for an entire essay, go for it. Just the checklist doesn't really matter. Foreign language is an A3G requirement in California anyway. So if it's something that's meaningful, for example, maybe you went to pick up your mother tongue again because you lost touch with it so that you could, I don't know, have ties with your cultural roots when you went back to your home country, sure. But just saying I speak another language does not matter. Will they look into if you have it? No, they won't really look into it. It'll just be like another club on a list.
I do have another question here. What kind of clubs or extracurriculars would you recommend for a freshman to make their college application essays stand out? Again, there is no cookie cutter clubs. Again, if there was, it would be a lot easier to get into college. If I was able to tell you, like, join this club and you're guaranteed to get in. So again, like we said, choose a club that is interesting to you. Again, as a freshman, join whatever clubs you want, and then maybe you'll narrow it down. You can quit some clubs that you don't like, and then finally you'll find the few that you really do enjoy. So the advice for everyone in this meeting is just do what you truly enjoy. Don't do things that you think an admissions officer wants to see. Because I promise you, there is nothing that an admission officer wants to see. There's nothing in their mind like I will make sure the student gets into this college if they are part of this club or if they do this one activity. There's nothing like that in the admissions officer minds. Their mind is completely neutral, completely blank. 30 to 60 seconds, hundreds and thousands of applications. So they're not taking the time to form their own opinions and think about each individual essay. All right. So just join what you're passionate about, and they'll see that passion through the screen or through the essay.
Yep. Okay, main point is tangible evidence and impact you created matters. Yeah, so evidence, the impact, and what you learned from it. What you learned component is going to become the most important component in your essay. But if you don't have the evidence and impact it matters, then you won't even have the last part. Do you have tips for scholarships or aid, especially for UCs? There's no specific tips. Focus on get FAFSA through and done. Even if you don't think you'll qualify for grants, get it submitted. There's a whole thing on the student aid index and everything now, so just submit it. In California, there is Cal Grant, which you're automatically submitted to as a high school student. And then there's a middle class scholarship, which you'd also automatically considered for as well. So look those up. If you feel like you hit those requirements, you should get them automatically. But there's no other specifics to that. It's just scholarship is just another essay game. Focus on your college apps first. If you want to go into scholarships, do that in like Feb-ish of next year, Feb, March time, once your applications are all done. Okay, all factors being equal, do admission officers assign some score to essays for all students and compare, or this is all subjective? So what admission officers are doing is they're judging you against your peers in your class for your high school, maybe for your region if there's not a whole lot of students. That's all they're looking at. So there's the internal metrics and grading nobody has access to. I don't know how they score. I don't know if they put a number to it. I don't know how they set the bar. But what they do judge you against is, did this student contribute to the community and did they learn as a leader, given the resources they had? At the end of the day, from a high level, that's all they're trying to judge, because if you are given the resources of that university, will you make good use of them? That's all they're trying to fundamentally answer at the end of the day. So if you're able to do it at your high school, your local community, you probably can do it really well at the university as well. So that's how they're judging you against it. That's why they don't judge you against some other school that maybe has more clubs or maybe has more AP classes, maybe has some other opportunities that you don't have. They don't judge you against them because it's not fair. They just judge you against the same equitable access to the resources that everyone in your class had.
There's a question here. Do you know any good engineering extracurriculars that would make my application stand out? Again, no. The extracurriculars that you do, there is no right or wrong answer. The only thing that will actually help your application stand out is doing what you like to do. Again, I graduated in aerospace engineering. My high school had no aerospace orgs. They had a robotics org, but I didn't even join that. But I didn't want to, so I didn't do. I did things that I was more passionate about, and those took up most of my time anyway. And so when I wrote about stuff, I never wrote about any aerospace engineering orgs because I wasn't part of any of them. I wrote about, things that are more, humanities and writing and things that I was more passionate about. And I was able to show my passion, show my leadership skills, and show those kind of things in my essay. So there's no right or wrong extracurricular. It's just, what are you truly interested in, and your passion, your application will stand out.
I think we're reaching bottom. Any more questions? SAT score. Good question. So yes, SAT and ACT scores are no longer considered for UCs, as well as some private universities. They don't necessarily make or break any application anymore. If you have a strong SAT or ACT score, submit them. If you don't submit them. And that's all it comes down to. So it's nothing special anymore. The focus is now obviously on GPA and the essays itself. So that's the two. Same thing with out of state for SAT. So if it's required, you have to submit it. If it's not required and you don't think the score is strong enough, don't submit it. It won't affect your admission. You won't get hurt by it. It can only help you strengthen your case. It can only benefit you, but it will not hurt you. Students don't hold a green card, how their visa status may affect. That's a good question that we'll have to research. I don't know about visa status.
Especially now.
Yeah, I don't know about the visa status, but I can look into it. Let's see. Can you list score and additional info for UCs, or does that look bad? Yeah, please don't put anything additional info about scores, activities, clubs. Additional info is truly if there's some sort of something else you need to write about that you need to convey to the admissions officer. It could be things like family emergencies or maybe something personal you have to write about. You're just telling admissions officer that, hey, if something looks off, there's a reason to it. Please do not write another essay. Do not tell them I was part of all these things that I could not mention in my essays. They do not care. They're just seeing what happened. A good example is we've had folks in the past who you'll see their grades have dipped in maybe sophomore year or junior year or something like that. And you'll see that they have a lot of transcripts. They usually say, hey, you'll see my grade slipped, semester 1 or semester 2 of this year. That's because I had this emergency, I had this issue, I had this personal thing I had to deal with. But I made a comeback. You'll see my grades came back once I was, back. That's the only purpose of it. Don't use it for anything else. You check CASP test. No, they don't check anything. How to and where to apply for research programs for MedPath. Focus on getting into pre-med first, and then in college you'll have a path for medical school. What is the average GPA for UCs to consider? Good question. There's no number. They recommend 4.2 to 4.3 as a minimum. That's by no means a cutoff. There is no hard cutoff at all. So we've seen students with 3.5 get in, students with 4.8 get rejected. So there's no cutoff. They recommend the 4.2, 4.3 range. But again, there's no specific GPA to look at. Do they check middle school GPA? No, they do not. They won't check middle school GPA. They only check high school. They don't even check 9th grade. So it's what's called 10 through 12. It's a weighted score, basically. And so what they're going to do is they're going to calculate based on the AP classes you took, what's your weighted GPA. It should be on your transcripts as well if you ask your counselors. Weighted GPA are 5. So they'll check that. And then UC will run its own GPA. So if you look up UC GPA, you'll find a calculator. UC excludes any PE classes that you have, as well as any foreign language classes that you took. So they will not include those as part of their calculation. And so for most people, your GPA gets a little bit bumped up. It's not a huge jump, but it's a slightly different calculation. So you can check it. But most important is your weighted GPA, 10 through 12. If you don't know that, ask for an unofficial transcript from your counselor. Send them an email, walk into their room during lunch, whatever. They should have your GPA in there. There'll be a weighted and unweighted.
See, the question here is if you did an internship in the summer and you were asked to return, would this be something you'd want to mention in your activities section / essays? So yeah, in your activity section, you should definitely mention that you had an internship. In your essays, though, again, if it can fit into a prompt, like whatever you did at your internship, if it was important to you and you can fit into a prompt, by all means, please write about it. Again, your prompts are really just true anything that you can expand about. So if your internship, if you proved that you solved a creative problem, that's one of the prompts. Or if you helped resolve a dispute, that's one of the prompts as well. So look through the prompts and see which one that your internship will be good evidence for. which one you can build a narrative around. All right. I see one that says, what is an internship? I will take that one. So an internship is basically where you work for the company. Sometimes you get a little bit of money, sometimes you don't. But you essentially become like a full-time employee at that company. Sometimes it's over the summer, at which point you will actually are a full-time employee just for that one summer. Other times you might be working for the company part-time. But the idea is you get to feel what it is to be an employee. You work on some project that they give you that actually is important for the company, and you are a true employee of that company. So it gives you like work experience without having to actually apply for that company. So you're not a full-time engineer, but you can be an engineering intern. So that means for a temporary time, you get to be a full-time employee. Difference between weighted and unweighted GPA, that's a very good point, a very good question. Your weighted GPA takes into account AP classes as well as honors classes. So as you know, your GPA is usually on a 4.0 scale. But when you have an AP class, it counts as a 5.0 because you're saying that it's a more difficult class. It's like a college level class. So they're saying, it takes more effort for a high school student to complete it. So you get a little boost in your GPA. It's considered as a 5.0 class. Same thing with an honors class. So your weighted GPA is going to take into account all your AP classes that you have. So if you get an A in an AP class, it's considered a 5.0 versus a B in AP class, which is considered the normal 4.0. So getting A's in your AP class is going to boost your GPA above a 4. And then your unweighted GPA is just on a 4 scale. So whatever it is out of 4, because you're not counting the extra difficulties. So again, AP class, you're going to add, still have a 4.0 scale, but you can go above a 4, which is good. How many AP courses is good? Whatever it is that you can take. Whatever workload that's not going to burn you out or make you lose focus, that's what's recommended. Again, there's no GPA that's perfect or the perfect cutoff. So whatever you can take, whatever you can handle is what you should be doing.
Yeah, and with that as well, on top of it, UC does not look at your AP test scores. They will just look to see what courses you took or attempted to took. So, if you get a B in an AP class, they still count that as a benefit because you pushed yourself, rather than if you just took every regular class out there and got A's in all of them. They don't. That's standard, right? That's the benchmark. But if you said, hey, I took AP History, I took AP English, they know that. They know that, those are the kind of classes that not a lot of people like all the time. So, but you pushed for it. So they like to see the rigor. But yeah, no specific one. My weight GPA is around 0.4 to 0.5 higher than my UC GPA. I don't know. Without looking at transcript, I can't tell exactly why that would be the case. So yeah, I'd have to see the actual transcript to understand that. For Common App, what weighted GPA do we list? Because we have 10 to 12 total. 10 to 12 is what they're going to be looking at. 10 to 12 weighted GPA. So that's the number you list. Also, in general, you can always just list the higher number. They'll always fact check too. So participation in a summer program / college prep courses, in a particular UC, influences the chance of getting admitted to that UC. Okay. It's a good question. So officially, no. According to UC, it does not. Unofficially, it does add a benefit. It can't guarantee admission to that UC, but it does add benefits because you did you're already part of that UC environment, specifically that college. So definitely have it in your activity list. I don't know if you can ever write in your essays. It's very hard to tie in a college course into your essay. If there's a way to do it. But yeah, it doesn't guarantee admission to that UC, but it might help, unofficially at least.
Are there any other questions? Feel free to take a moment, type in the chat, speak out loud. Anything's all right.
Yeah, real quick on that visa question that was there earlier. If you're graduating from a high school in the US, you should be able to apply as domestic, but you won't come under international. So the rules are you have to graduate from a high school here, and if you're in the state for at least 2 years, you're considered a state resident according to the university. So your visa status should not affect the application in sense of international versus domestic. You'll be a domestic student, so you won't compete against all the international kids coming abroad.
Which UC college is best for business?
Tough one.
Um,
Undergrad business is
I know UCLA has a really good business school, but that's like a graduate school.
lots of graduate schools are good. Undergrad, I mean, UCSD, UCLA, UCI, they're all fine. Berkeley, obviously. So yeah, that's up to you. Define best. Do you want extracurriculars, classes, clubs? I guess maybe job opportunities. It all depends. But any other questions?
Do your essay have to be related to the major you're choosing in college, or does it have to be just about yourself? No, it does not have to be related to the major you're choosing. It just has to be about the things that you've done, and the things that you're really interested in. It just has to be about that. Again, you don't need to focus on exactly what your major is. Again, like I said, I didn't have any aerospace clubs, and so a lot of the writing that I did wasn't really about aerospace, because I genuinely didn't do anything regarding that. I was only interested in it. So same idea, you don't need to connect everything back to the university or to the major. Just be yourself.
Cool. All right, medical schools. Medical schools, do not focus on medical schools. Pre-med is not a major either. So pick a major, biochem, one of those two, in that area. Across those universities, I mean, most of your UCs will be pretty strong for those. So pre-med is a track. It is not a major. If anyone tells you differently, they are lying. So pick a major that makes most sense, that will help you accomplish the courses in the pre-med track. Most universities will be pretty solid for those pre-med tracks to help you get into the actual medical school afterwards.
Is applying for a class like Greek language, but then switching to a different major mid-year recommended? Absolutely not. Um, please don't do that. I know a lot of people think it's a hack to, if you really want to be, computer science major, but then you take a completely different route and try to switch in. People don't know this, but when you're in college and you're trying to switch majors, a capped major is a capped major. They can only accept so many students. So when you try to switch into a new major, what's going to happen is there's still going to be a very few reserve spots left. And it's sometimes going to be based on a lottery system. So you might not even get the major that you want. So, which means you're going to graduate with a Greek language major, which might not be something you're actually interested in. So go in with a major that you want. Don't go in trying to hack the system. They've thought about that and they've proved so you can't hack it. All right. It's not a good idea to switch majors mid-year. Again, for one reason, it's a lottery. So if you don't get in, then you're kind of stuck with the major that you chose. And also sometimes you need to take those extra classes so you can catch up to in order to prove that you want to be that major. You need to be taking some of their normal earlier breadth classes. And doing that, you're just increasing your workload. So just keep that in mind. Again, don't recommend it. Just try to get to the major that you want.
Cool. Okay, being a California resident for 3 years, L visa, would I qualify for 2 years for community? I believe you qualify if you're graduating from a high school, US-based high school or California high school. So you should be able to get the 2-year tuition fee waiver, but I don't know for sure. Suggestions taking on SAT, ACT if I'm only looking for California schools only. So I'm assuming you mean the UC schools. If you know you're only going to apply to UC schools and you're not going to try anything else that requires an SAT or ACT, I mean, don't take it. Unless you've studied really hard and you think that you're going to do amazingly well, it's not worth the time. Does UCSD have a medical path? Every university will have science-based courses for you. Pre-med again is a track. It is a set of courses, usually encompassing bio, chem, organic chemistry, some math, physics, English, things like that. So all of them will have a quote-unquote pre-med track. It's just a list of courses you need to qualify for to even apply for medical school. So it doesn't matter by university. Would one UC know if the other UC is accepting a student? In other words, do each UC independently make admission decision? It's a good question. So UCs do share their application, which is why they will also see if you are trying to game the system. So if you're doing Greek language at Berkeley, but then you do computer science at UCSD, they're going to catch that. So they do know who they're accepting. They do know what majors you're applying to. They do know kind of the overall landscape of the UCs. We recommend don't apply to all 9 undergrad campuses for UC. Pick maybe 5 to 6 max. Don't really go over that. Just because you apply to all 9 does not give you a better shot. Be thoughtful about the actual universities you're applying to. Independently do make their decision. So it's not Berkeley's not going to call UCLA and be like, I'm accepting, you don't accept. They don't do that sort of stuff. They will make a decision independently on their own rubric, their own standards, their own set, but they do share that information across the board. So the UCs do know kind of tracking the student journey.
And a good way to think, to be, again, like he said, choose the right college to apply for is just think about if you got into that college, would you go? So if you're going to be applying to a bunch of random colleges all over the country, but you know that you're not really going to go to them, there's no point applying. There's no point putting in the effort, sometimes even the money. Just apply to the colleges that you would actually go to if you really got into them.
Okay, how do UCs evaluate essays for students applying to impacted majors like computer science or data science? Can we apply to CS engineering and engineering college, data science major as an alternative at another college within same UC? So some of the UCs allow a primary choice and secondary choice. So then, yes, you could do CS as primary and data science as secondary. But again, if you're doing different UCs, don't try to switch up and be like kind of weird about it because they're going to see it. So don't like say, I mean, CS in one thing and bio in another won't work. CS in one college, data science in another college maybe would fly, but risky. So stick to usually one thing, unless they have a specialization that you want to focus on.
Try to stay in your department. So like CSE is the computer science and computer engineering department. So you can switch between the two into different colleges. Not recommended, but like it'll be fine. But don't try to do something like completely different. So MAE is mechanical engineering and aerospace engineering. So some colleges you can apply mechanical, some you can apply aerospace depending on the specialization and things that you like. Just don't go completely off brand.
I did dual enrollment in my local community college. I don't plan on submitting the score I got in class for credit. Since it wasn't satisfied, is there any way I can still talk about my application? So a couple of things there. If you did it separately and it's not part of your transcript, then you don't have to submit it. If it's part of your transcript, it should be there. So I don't know if you can get away with not submitting it. If you're going to talk about in your application, it would make sense to show it in your transcript because it's a weird disconnect to have. So, I mean, I wouldn't add more questions to an admissions officer to make them confused. If you're going to talk about it, put it in. And you can mention you didn't do that well. So if you say maybe you liked a college or you wanted to try something that you weren't into and you took the community college course because your high school did not offer it and you didn't do that well, that's fine. That's actually a really good story to tell. You learned something in that process. Doesn't matter if you got a B or a C or even failed that class, world doesn't end. Then you can talk about that. But I wouldn't try hiding it from one place and bringing it up in another because it'll just cause confusion if you look at it.
Yeah, and a good thing, something to think about in your essays is don't be afraid to embrace any what you guys might consider a failure, right? People consider, lower grade like a B or C as like, oh my God, I failed. That's okay. You can even mention it. We can write an application. You can write an essay prompt about that, right? About what you learned from it, how you grew. Maybe that was one of the challenges that you overcame. So don't be afraid to don't try to hide all the imperfections. Please, like, show your imperfections, show that you are a flawed human, and then you can explain how you're trying to fix those flaws, how, how that flaw turned you into the person you are today. So don't think that they need to see some perfect 10 out of 10 person. Uh, just embrace your failures. It's totally okay. And no admission officer is gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe they told me that they are imperfect. That's not how admission officers think at all.
Cool. All right, PSAT is needed. No, PSAT is not needed. It's just a practice that you take. So no one will look at that score ever again in their life. So you can hide it. Is it true that going to community college 1 year and then transfer to UC is easier? Not true. Chances are you probably won't even go to community college for 1 year. It'll be a 2-year program to get credits. You won't get all the credits for UCs. You'll have to just get a few general education GE requirements for UCs. Transfer is not guaranteed. I know there's programs with community college and UC transfers, but it does not guarantee campus, nor does it guarantee major. So they can put you wherever, they can give you wherever, and you might be stuck in this trying to switch into the right major situation. The other thing is it does usually add time. So typically it'll be like a 2-year community college and then 3 years at UC. So you'll end up doing 5 years for your undergrad, which is fine if you need to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But again, don't try gaming the system thinking you can get into a UC quicker. If you're a freshman and you're looking to apply to UCs, just apply to UCs like every other normal person here. Okay, you mentioned earlier that UCs don't worry about the grades in AP courses, but they look at number of AP students took. No, reverse that. They don't. They look at the grades. Grades always count. GPA counts.
I think the idea that might have been misunderstood here is just because we said that if you get a B in AP, it's okay because you're challenging yourself in an AP class and that's all right. That is true, but that doesn't mean you should be getting B's or C's in all of your AP classes. That's not at all what it means. It just means that if you get a B in an AP class, it's not going to negatively impact your admission as bad as you might think it does. But consistently getting B's and consistently getting C's definitely will. So just keep that part in mind. We're not saying that your grades don't matter at all. We're just saying in very certain cases, 1B will not take your entire admissions.
Okay. Let's know if that answered that question, or you can type follow up. To get scholarships, any test? No. I don't think.
Really?
I think I know PSAT offers some to like the top, some X% of people, which is like a very, very small one. If you're a top 1% of your graduating class, I think you get a scholarship. But there's no like, I don't know, there's no good nationwide test for a scholarship.
Would class rank in a particular high school matter in UC admission? Not really. No. Just because you're valedictorian doesn't mean you're going to get into every college you want, and just because you're not doesn't mean you're going to get rejected. Again, it just matters. What matters is, again, the GPA and how much of your resources did you actually use. So if there's a bunch of APs and you use none of them, that's going to matter. So just that kind of what matters in the UC admission in terms of class rank.
With the one caveat, if you're top 1%.
Yes.
So usually the top 5 to 6-ish people, depending on your class size, you're guaranteed a UC admission. Again, not guaranteed a specific school or major, you're just guaranteed admission into a UC university. But you have to be top 9% in the state, which usually pans out to top 1% in the high school. But yeah, barring that, it does not matter what your class rank is really. Like top 10 versus top 20 is not the biggest difference. Okay. Okay, so transferring from basic community college to UCs, transferring will have any major disadvantage like access costs? Yeah, so okay, a few things here. So transfer from community college to UCs for financial reasons. If you can afford a UC, go apply to the UC and get admitted. The universities themselves will have scholarship programs as well. There are lots of scholarships that unlock after admission as well. So, I mean, for example, you saw Sindhu's intro, she was a Regent Scholar. That was a scholarship that the university gave her. She did not apply, she did not do anything specific. She just did a normal UC application. University said, hey, we like this student. They gave her Regent Scholar that basically gave her full ride to UCSD. So there will be some other ones that unlock if there's financial reasons. That's also why I submit your FAFSA. FAFSA sets a bar for what your financial expectation is for that university or for universities in general. So for those reasons, don't try transferring just to see if you can get financial reasons. If you truly can't afford it, then you can do the community college path, but I wouldn't shoot down that opportunity early on. Go apply, get accepted. They all will send you a financial package afterwards that will detail the cost of attending that university. Then you can make a judgment call on whether it's affordable or the right decision for you, or whether you want to do community college and transfer from that point. And then we're not planning to take SAT since UCs are test blind. That's fine. Again, to only take the SAT if you're applying to universities that require them, or you've been studying for it anyway that you think you'll do a really good job. So then you can use the score to your benefit. Most people we've met do not do a good job. So, but you don't have to if it's test blind. I'm not sure if you do 3 years in UCs, 2 years in community. However, community college promote 2-year free education, direct admissions through the TAG program. Yeah, so you don't have to do 3 years and 2 years. The typical pathway that ends up happening is 2 years in community, 3 years at UC. We've seen it over and over. With that said, there are people who've done the same 4-year curriculum. So it's not like it's a forced mandate for 5 years. It's just most students end up in that path. TAG program gives you a UC admission. It does not guarantee the university. It does not guarantee a major. So you can't say just because I went to community college in California that I'm guaranteed a computer science seat at UC Berkeley. That no one will give you. All it will guarantee is you will get some admission to a UC, you'll be able to transfer, and you'll be able to get some major or some department. They will not guarantee anything else beyond that. So
Also, sorry, continue.
no, that's it.
Okay. I was gonna say it's important to note that colleges, when you're actually in the college in whatever major department you're in, especially it's very true in engineering and STEM related fields, there are prerequisites for some of your upper division, so your higher level classes, especially that happen in your 3rd and 4th year. There are prerequisites. Prerequisites essentially mean that classes you need to have taken before you can take that class. So a lot of the times when you come out from community college, 2 years, you might not have all the required classes that you need in order to continue into some of the upper division classes. Now, that's normally okay. You can just take them at the UC. However, sometimes some of those classes might only be offered once or twice a year, which means you have to wait it out. You don't have a choice. You need to wait it out for that 3rd year because you just genuinely are not allowed to get into those classes. So that is something, again, the 2-year community college and 2-year UC is just as possible as a 2-year community college and 3-year UC. But we just want to let you know that there are some obstacles if you try to do the community college into the UC route. That it is not going to be a super smooth transition as people often promise that it is. If you need to go through the community college route, that's completely fine, and whatever works for you is what works for you. But just know that if you have the opportunity to go straight into the university, try to do that. Don't try to game the system by saying, to make yourself look better. So I see that you said like a chance to improve your GPA. Just apply into the UC system and see how it works. If you don't get in, or you don't get into what you want, then you can try the community college route. But don't completely erase that away and don't neglect it from the get-go.
Right. If a student has more activity, they will get admissions easily. How important is it to do all these extra activities in high school? So you're not guaranteed anything by having more activities. So there's no guarantee. It doesn't matter if you do 1 activity, 10 activities, it makes no difference. So it's more so how can you use those activities to speak about yourself, your impact, your contributions in your essays. So if there's maybe just a handful that you really want to talk about, that's great. You spent a lot of time on those, fantastic. If you went out and did like 100 different things, fine, but you've still got to pick only a few of those to talk about. So there's no shortcut to admissions there.
And in terms of importance, again, it's important to do what you are actually interested in doing. I think another little shout out to parents in the call is don't force your kids to do things they don't want to do, because then they're going to have no interest or no passion to continue it, and they're just going to be following through. And you can't really write on something that you're not interested in. So make sure you're doing something that you truly like and you're interested in, and then you can write your essays very well around that. It's very easy to write about what you're passionate about. It's very difficult to write about stuff that you might have been like, oh, this is what I think a college might have wanted, or something that you might have been forced to do. So just keep that in mind when you start to choose what extracurricular activities you want to join or you want to talk about. Next question is, do UCs have some kind of preferences for schools like Oxford High School or STEM-based schools that have high school admissions based on tests? So the way the UC systems work is they look at it holistically, which basically means they're going to compare you to other students in your own school, in your own graduating class. They're not going to compare a student from one high school to another, because that's not fair, because you might have, again, some schools will have a better, some schools might have more resources, and things like that. So they're not gonna compare two schools that have different level of resources against each other. So not really. They don't really have a certain preference for a certain school. They look at the student as a whole. Do you have any other questions? We got roughly 10 minutes left.
Yeah, Ani and Sindhu, I think some students are leaving, so maybe we can call it a wrap.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much to both of you. It was a very informative session. I hope all the students and parents who join, I hope they find it useful. So see you, in the next session. We'll try to come up with something similar, like which is more beneficial to the student community. Thank you so much for taking time and putting this session together.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, and thank you to TASC.
Yeah.
So good luck to all the students who are preparing for their college application. So I hope you all end up in good colleges of your choice. Okay. So all the best. Thank you, and we'll close this session.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stop recording.
Hearing the recording soon.